What is going on, everybody? For all of you who just can't get enough of the overreaction of yesterday's preseason game, well, I'm here to compound that with my next and latest guest, Randon McMahon. You know him as Rando Commando. He's he's one half of Between Two Beers with Rob Shue. I have been waiting for the right opportunity to have somebody on or have him on, and I finally have that opportunity. Randon, how you doing, man? And is the sky falling on your side too with the 49ers, or do you have more of an optimistic approach to things?
Well, thank you for having me on. Yeah, it's about time we got it done. I know we were kind of missing weekends, and I went on vacation and stuff like that. So it's good to be on, and appreciate you letting me come on the show. Doing pretty good. Like I said, just got off work like we were talking beforehand. So just kind of doing a little, downsizing here, but then you have to ramp right back up for some premium Niners content here. But no, the sky's not falling for me. It's preseason. It never really, never really has. You work at it, and it is what it is. It was just a really bad game. I mean, to be honest, but yeah, not overreacting at all. You got 17 weeks to figure it out, and this team's too loaded not to succeed for the season. So, what about you?
It's hard to say because there's things that me and you kind of talked about in the Twitter instant messages yesterday about just like one of the things you brought up to me, and we'll get to it, is some like the depth on the defensive line that we're all raving about, especially interior wise. They didn't look too great last night. They were pretty leaky. So there's things that I noticed that I hope that they can get cleaned up. Offensive line kind of being the number one concern, even over Trey Lance and even over the safety situation with Jimmy Ward now being out at least the first 4 games of the year. But I wanted to get to this. I asked you off stream. I wanted to kind of get your opinion on this paralysis by analysis that's been going on based on last night's game and how Trey Lance played. And everybody has a right, especially if they, cover the 49ers or if they have a content creator, they have the right to do whatever they want as far as like kind of deep diving. But I get to the point sometimes where my anxiety gets to me where I have to stay off Twitter because, like I said, it's paralysis by analysis. It's almost too much. Do you kind of have that feeling, or are you thinking this is just par for the course? This is what it is, and it doesn't really get to you? Because it gets to me a little bit. I'm like, oh my God, like everybody get along. It's going to be okay. Like you said, it's a long season.
Yeah, sometimes it does. I half the time I don't even comment on some things, right? But like you look at it, like this was birthed all out of COVID. And then like a lot of these people started becoming content creators, me included, because either they were bored or saw somebody else do it and like, hey, I can do that, or have a love for sports, whatever's the reason. And now you have all these Twitter spaces, and then you follow all these people. And so you're like, every single play that gets done gets tweeted by like 15 people, right? And then those people retweet it or argue or whatever. And it's just, everything will just gets bleh, right? Off of every single play.
Right.
So it's just, I kind of have a matter of fact. There's no opinion that I'm like, I die on the sword on about the Niners at this moment. Like it's just take it as it goes. Seasons change all the time, right? I mean, I thought after when we were 3-5, I was like, okay, like there's no way we're coming back in the season. It's going to be let Trey Lance develop, and then Jimmy and the Niners go on a freaking tear, right? Like your opinions can change, stuff can change with the Niners, but it's like it can be sometimes. I know last night I made one comment about like I don't think Trey Sermon's getting cut just because draft capital or whatever, and a lot of people are like, oh well, whoever we cut's going to get picked up by people, and I said, do you realize that like every single team's going from 85 to 53? Like there's so many people getting cut, and then what makes you think that they're going to carry this guy who hasn't played one snap for them or knows their offense on the 53? Right? They can't put him on the practice squad; they have to put him on the 53-man roster. Right. So it's like. I was like, I made one comment. He came at me hard, and I was just like, all right, I'm over it. Yeah, if you like Jordan Mason, fine, man. Jordan Mason did fine. Like, go ahead. Yeah, I like Jordan Mason. But, like, my opinion was I don't think Trey Sermon's getting cut, regardless of how well he did in the preseason, just because of his draft capital. And that was my opinion. And whether I'm right or wrong, we'll see in a couple days. But, like, is it really that much for you to come at me so hard at? Like, that's the kind of stuff that I get with. And then the Twitter spaces I can only listen to about for 5 minutes, and then I bounce out.
I can't do Twitter Spaces at all.
Yeah.
A lot of it is a lot of yelling. Somebody has a fan on in the background or a dog barking, or they're constantly opening and shutting a door or something. And it's just like, okay, goodbye. My OCD goes super overboard in Twitter Spaces. I rather, if I have anything, is I'll a lot of times some people they'll do like a StreamYard, but they'll be offline. It'll just people like gather in like a StreamYard link or something and talk that way, especially because you know who people are that you're talking to, and nobody that you don't want ends up making their way in there. But yeah, like I watched the game last night, and it was a task to watch, especially as it went along. I don't know. My feelings haven't really changed on the season or what my expectations are, but I definitely, based on how everybody goes on about the depth on the defensive line and the offensive line, maybe it's looking better than we thought it was going to be. And then you actually see some game reps with some of these people, and you realize, okay, maybe they're not as good as everybody's touting us to be, or maybe people just need more time and more reps. So it's kind of like there's the talk that happens during camp. There's a talk that happens during off-season conditioning programs, and everybody talks about stuff. And then you actually get to see some game film, and you yourself as a person, a fan, use your own eyes. You can kind of tell if somebody's ready or if they need a little bit more time.
I just don't think the Niners came to play last night. I don't think the Niners came to play last night. I thought, okay, they thought this was going to be a nice little easy, dog walk in the park to prep for week one. Like Houston played all their starters, like they were ready to tune up, right? And Dameon Pierce had a chance to win running back one for them. I think he did it. I think Davis Mills had a lot to prove still for their fan base. And I think they came to play, and I don't think the Niners did. It didn't seem like they did, at least in my opinion. And I mean, they said they were going to play the starters, and then they sat 10 of them on the defensive side nine besides Ebukam and Hufanga. So I don't know. I mean, the whole first team defense wasn't there. I mean, the defensive line, we can talk about that, but I don't know. I just don't think they came to play. I don't think they took the Houston Texans seriously in a preseason game, which now they have 17 days to kind of beat that out of them. I know there's going to be hell to pay in practice, whenever that happens, just because Shanahan, doesn't want to take anything lightly, even preseason games. So we'll see how that works out. I know week one, there'll be a lot more intense about what's going on there. But yeah, that was kind of my feeling. It just seemed flat the whole way from the beginning to end.
How much did the short turnaround and just the amount of travel and just stuff they've been doing in the last, because the talk was before preseason games started, Shanahan talked about, and I guess it's even in the Niners, their little brick by brick video too, where they talked about like they're going on a little bit of a tear over the next 21 days. How much of that you think they were just kind of gassed, or was it, like you said, maybe the intensity wasn't there because they kind of know what they got coming in 17 days?
Probably a little bit of both, right? I mean, they travel to Minnesota, travel back home for a couple of practices, travel to Houston. They play 2 games in 4 days. So, I mean, probably a little bit of both. I mean, you rarely have that much of a turnaround. I mean, Sunday to Monday, Thursday night football sometimes happens, but it was a fast turnaround. And then the backups played all of the game against Minnesota, and then they played all of the game here, and then they practiced pretty hard against Minnesota. So yeah, it could have been a little bit gas and a little bit this. I think there is some stuff to be nervous about, like you said, but overall, I think maybe gas or lack of intensity, which obviously isn't going to happen in week one. I mean, every team is geared up for the beginning of the season. So a lot of that stuff will be ironed out in the next 17 days or so. But yeah, I mean, there's some pause for concern on some stuff, which we will definitely talk about. But overall, about the team as a whole, I'm not really too concerned.
My notes here for the kind of the first real topic was just it says Trey Lance looked meh. It was hard to kind of get a read or really come away with anything last night. Trey Lance wise, there's been a lot of breakdown today about throwing mechanics and anticipation throws, and did the offensive line affect him, and could he make do even though the protection wasn't well? What was your kind of overall takeaway from Trey Lance last night? Was it more of a meh, or did you see some things that kind of stood out to you that maybe the that are alarming, or do you think that could be fixed with just more reps?
Well, it's always going to be more reps with him, but I don't think the offensive line was great. I mean, to where he had to roll out a lot. Some of them were design rollouts. So, I have a couple of the things, like the rollout throw to Juice was right on the dot. It was a really nice play. The sidearm throw that was way too low, that looked way too low, actually got tipped. So, that not really his fault. Who knows if that would have been on the dot, but he looked prepared to make that throw. And I look at like guys like Patrick Mahomes, that attempt those types of things. You don't know until you attempt it. Like, this kid is still feeling out what he can accomplish. And so I don't mind it. And it just got tipped. The deep ball was a little short, but he was pass interference, in my opinion. The guy had it all over his arm, but Debo didn't separate at all. So he didn't even give Trey Lance an opportunity to lead him. There was no separation the entire time. So a lot of those things. And then he took a lot of the easy dink and dunks. There were some overthrows. So yeah, it wasn't like great. It wasn't horrible. It just seemed like the whole offense, though, was stale. Like, the running game couldn't get going. Obviously, they're not trying any trick plays. They couldn't extend the ball downfield. And so at that point, for all the people who, bash Jimmy Garoppolo not being able to throw deep, without the offensive line, you have a mobile Jimmy Garoppolo who's not good at the timing routes in the middle of the field, right, at that point. So it really was just both tackles were gone. And that's a really big thing for me, is like McGlinchey really hasn't played at all. And maybe the quad is worse than we think, and he's not going to be there. And then you have McKivitz, who didn't look great. You had School, who didn't look great. And you had Jalen Moore, who didn't even look like he played football before. Oh. So yeah, that does give me a little bit of qualms. But going back to Trey Lance, like, you're going to have these times. Like, who knows, though? Like, he had played 2 series, or what? It was 2 series or 3 series. And, like, the whole rest of the game, they could have got fire. You never know at that point. And so, like, I'm not too upset by it. I think the positive thing for Trey Lance is the schedule in the beginning part of the year is easy, right? So you're playing the Bears, you're playing the Seahawks, Atlanta, and Carolina. You're playing some easy teams there, and so you should be able to build some confidence and get him some more quality reps at that point. So, I mean, you said, man, is what the topic was for you. How did you feel? Did you feel like it just didn't seem right? It just didn't feel right the whole time, or did you take some good points out of it?
To me, I mean, it's like you said, there seemed like a lack of just intensity, energy. Shanahan didn't seem like his normal moody self on the sideline either. I almost got the impression to him that he just wanted to get out of this game as healthy as possible. And I think they did that, other than a couple of depth pieces. Oren Burks, I know he's a special teams guy, hopefully, that makes the team. Well, I think he's going to make the team, but because he was one of their
money. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just hard. It was hard to kind of get into yesterday's game. I had this in the back of my mind. All I kept thinking is, please, everybody stay healthy. So, like, I didn't even really care about the outcome. And then you got, like I said, you got 2 lines of dialogue going on right now where it's really cut and dry down the middle, pro Trey Lance, and not necessarily against Trey Lance, but
there's definitely people against Trey Lance. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're trying to kind of really, poke some holes in his game. Like, this things he needs to work on. There's a lot of that going on right now. And I'm not talking about one individual. I'm talking about like a lot of people. And to me, I don't know. It was just, I watched yesterday, and I don't know. They just seemed like a team that didn't have a game plan. Like, they were just going out there and running some plays. It's different when Kyle Shanahan has a couple weeks to get ready for an opponent, and he can work on things, and things are designed and, designed to do some damage, or plays that set up other plays that, that's the Shanahan kind of way of doing things. So that it didn't seem like there was much of anything going on. So I didn't really negative or positively really look at Trey Lance in any way. It was just meh to me. And I'm looking forward to week 1. I'm looking forward to hopefully McGlinchey getting back and Trent Williams getting back. And I never thought I would say this, but Dan Brunskill maybe possibly getting back and playing right guard or center or something. I don't know. There's like you said, there's definitely some questions. There's definitely some things that have caught my eye, but Trey Lance was definitely not. He was the least of my concerns last night for sure.
Yeah, for me, it's like, I guess I've come to realization. I just don't know why a lot of people harp on it all the time. Like, I came to the realization that Jimmy G was a mediocre quarterback, that helped their team get along with a good run game and a good defense. He was what he was. It is what it is. And now I've come to the realization that Trey Lance is going to have some bumps in the road. Like it's his rookie season. He's not going to be perfect. You can't expect him to be perfect, but the team's going to be good enough to win most of these games, despite of him being a rookie and taking some of those bumps. And then hopefully by the end of the year, he is elevating this team with his athleticism and throwing the ball downfield and that type of stuff. So like, I know what it is. I mean, am I going to be disappointed if we lose to the Bears or don't look good against the Bears, a team that's like is dog crap? Like, yeah, I am. I'm going to be upset, but I wasn't upset about last night. Like you said, like it didn't look like they schemed anything. There really wasn't any trick plays besides that bootleg, which was really nice. The one to Juice. It wasn't really a trick play, but it was really a design play, design boot rather than him just bailing from the pocket. Yeah. So like for me, it's like, I understand what Trey Lance is like. Really, like, shouldn't we give the kid at least like a couple games? Like he's played a game and a half. Like, yeah, I think everybody with the thing with Twitter that bothers me the most is that everybody just wants to be right. Like they want to be able to throw up a receipt and that's it. And, I've been a Trey guy since the beginning, like pump my t-shirt. Like, to be honest, I don't give an F, man. Like, I just want my team to win. Like, that's all it is.
That's all that matters, man.
Like, I don't know you from Adam, bro. Like we're not drinking beers. You're not been my best friend since high school. Like, I really don't care like what your analysis is, if you're right or not, and how many receipts you throw up. Like, I just want Trey Lance to do well. I want the team to do well. And if the kid needs to work on his mechanics, he's playing for a professional organization. Like, they're going to get him as much help as he possibly can. Like, what are you going to do by worrying about it? Like, that's the kind of stuff, like, I think I'm like you, is like, I don't worry about that kind of stuff. Like, it is what it is. The Niners are either going to fix it, Trey's either going to fix it, or it's not. Right? Whether they should have made the pick or not, yeah, you can have an opinion about that and you can do some analysis, but I don't worry about that kind of stuff. Like, I just give my analysis based on the team, what I think, how the team's doing, maybe what they should do. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Like, right, I'm not getting paid for this. This is just something I love doing, right?
Yeah.
So
to me, it's a pissing contest or, measuring contest at this point. It's less about the 49ers. It's less about the love for the franchise. And like you said, having faith that the coaches and the front office and people are going to put the right things around this kid. He's got an unbelievable supporting cast of skill position players. A lot of people don't realize, because that broadcast last night was driving me crazy, by the way, with all the Jimmy Garoppolo love. I thought I was going to throw up in my mouth. They always say Jimmy drove us to win, and Jimmy was the reason and the catalyst and all that. Listen, Jimmy in a lot of ways was just the guy who drove the bus, and all the other people kind of did all the work around him. And right now, that's
and you can win that way, Trent.
Right.
But we didn't. So they wanted somebody better.
Right. And then that's what Trey is. Year one, then I'm okay with that. This team has a window, for sure, but there's a chance this year isn't the year. And I think a lot of fans, like right now, I have like my expectations are we should at least become a playoff team. And then whatever happens after that is what happens. Like, I'm not going to sit there and be peeing in my pajamas if the 49ers, make the playoffs and are a one and done squad this year, maybe. And Trey is partly the reason for it. Like, look at the rookies that played last year. Trevor Lawrence didn't light the world on fire. Zach Wilson didn't light the world on fire. Justin Fields didn't light the world on fire. So this is, like you said, it's essentially Trey Lance's rookie year. So I have a lot of faith in him. I think he's made of the right stuff. I think he's got a lot of athletic ability. He's got the smarts. It's just, everybody talks about his mechanics, but a lot of his mechanics just have to do with the fact that he just hasn't had enough reps. He's super, super raw. And I'm okay with the journey. And I think some people get lost, like you said, in the being right and the receipts and all that stuff. To me, after a while, I use Twitter and Facebook and stuff because I have a YouTube channel and I have to use it to promote or whatever. But man, I want to say some stuff sometimes, but you're right. It's like pointless because then you get in arguments with people you don't even really know. So whatever.
And you're like, do I really want to wait for my notification for you to respond? Like, it just,
there's people that'll go on and write like paragraph after paragraph on Twitter before you get one freaking response up. I'm just like, oh God, what did I get into?
Yeah.
But
throwing it back to Trey Lance, I think realistically, when they drafted him, my thought process was, hey, like let's look at all the teams that won a Super Bowl on a rookie contract, right? You had Russell Wilson and the Seahawks, Mahomes, et cetera, et cetera. So they're going to load this team up, right? The rest of the team is so good. They're going to load this team up, pay everybody else, and they have 5 years to win a ring or multiple rings. I'm fine with that.
Yep.
Right. We've waited since the 90s. Like, what's 5 more seasons? Like, let's build this team right. Trey Lance has 5 years to do it. 1 year's already gone because they decided to sit him. So now we got 4 years because the 5th-year option should be pretty bulky at that point, but it's still less than what he might get paid, right? I mean, quarterbacks could be getting paid. If he's a top 5 or top 10 quarterback that they think he's going to be, you could be looking at $60 million in 5 seasons is what quarterbacks are getting paid. Like, with the amount of money that's coming in, like, you don't know. So yeah, this team's ready to, like, we have to win within the next 5 years, and they're trying to do that. They're trying to do the new formula, which is win with a rookie quarterback and stack the team everywhere else. And I'm fine with that. Like, when they made that move, that was my expectation, was to win a ring within 5 seasons.
Definitely. Real quick with the chat, I haven't had a chance to look at it. Just to say what's up to everybody that's in the chat. Let me back up a little bit. Got Amina Dream, who was here a little bit early on. I think he was on before the stream happened. He said Aaron and Randon, bang, bang, Niner gang. Raphael 562, he says, what's up, Aaron, Randon, and everyone. Carcast, of course, in the house saying what's up. David McNew is always in the chat. He says, what's up, Aaron and Randon. McGlinchey supposedly has knee swelling. And then Niner Faithful says, last night was ugly to watch, but just imagine Jimmy behind that O-line last night. Yeah, it would have been even worse. Now let's all calm down.
It might have been better. He would have been able to get the ball out quick. That's what his MO is, right?
Yeah, his ability to put his back foot down and throw it. That's true. I mean, he has his pluses and minuses to his game.
But to me, there's no point in making that analysis. He's not on the roster anymore.
Yeah, I'm so sick of it. I'll be honest with you, I'm so sick. Like, I had in the for all of you in the chat, in the pre-stream notes that I sent Randon, I said Jimmy Garoppolo latest. He's like, what latest? There is no latest. I'm really honestly sick of talking about him. I'm like, and we're taking that topic off the docket. I was totally fine with that. I was being a little bit facetious with it, but I was like, whoa, he's definitely not into the Jimmy Garoppolo talk. So that's pretty much, I'm pretty much, that's all I'm going to say about that. It's just more, all of it is the same regurgitated stuff. It literally has been since the trade couldn't happen because of his shoulder. So hopefully we'll get some news within the next, by Tuesday?
The 30th,
hopefully.
Right?
Yeah. We'll
if
see.
They cut him, he's going to be a Seahawk.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw the video of the coach throwing the ball, and somebody says they referred to it like a Cialis commercial.
Oh, yeah.
Man, he looks really old. Wow.
He's in his 70s, man.
That is an old man. Like, I move pretty clunky for being 42. But it's an old man right there. That was embarrassing to watch, but he is what he is. He's got a ring. They owned us for years, so hopefully we can get some retribution, and send him packing soon enough. I guess we can jump right over to offensive line struggles. That was a pretty bad offensive line performance last night for the starters that were in there, and just as a whole, depth guys who came in later. I mean, it was a crap sandwich last night, man. It was bad. There's not really any way you can analyze it other than they look like a team that's never been coached any type of offensive line blocking techniques or nothing. It was just really bad to watch.
Yeah, it was funny. Trent Williams had that interview, and he was like, "Yeah, there's going to be some coaching going on Monday." like there's no excuse for what happened out there, and I think the biggest thing for me is like, okay, both tackles aren't in. You can make whatever excuse you want for that. But the 3 centerpieces are the guys that are supposed to be starters, right? Banks and Burford and Brendel, Triple B. So up the center, and they weren't getting any push. They weren't blocking very well. Most of the pressure came from the tackles in the pass game. So I'm not too worried. I wasn't too worried about that, but yeah, the fact that we're supposed to be a run team and play defense, and we haven't seen one preseason game with like a lot of run from when the starters are in there, kind of gives me a little bit of pause there. Like, what look different with Mitchell Obviously, it'll help having Trent Williams in the game. And so, I'm like, we'll see how it looks. I mean, they should run all over Chicago. So, like, if the run game isn't fixed by then, that's something to be kind of a pause about, because that's going to help Trey Lance develop, right? If you can rely on the run game, play defense, and you don't have to have him throw the ball 40 times a game, then, that's going to be something for him to kind of get his feet wet before he has to run. So for me, that's a little bit of pause there. And then, like we mentioned a little bit, like McGlinchey isn't 100% healthy. So,
No.
And Trent Williams hasn't played a full season his entire career, whether it's missed one game or whatever. And the backup tackles look like turnstiles out there. Like everybody was putting in a quarter and getting through. So that was just horrible. And so that's the thing that gives me pause there is we get one injury and we have two backup tackles. Are we really beating the teams in the middle stretch of our season, the Chargers, the Chiefs, that type of thing? Obviously that depends heavily on the defense, but it's hard to imagine Trey Lance, who already, who knows what he'll be by week 8, but right now you can't say that he's better than Derek Carr or Herbert or et cetera, et cetera. It's going to be hard to see that he's going to be playing that quarterback gun shootout type of game that the offenses in those leagues can play without those tackles being present, without the run game being present.
Yeah, that was it was a scary proposition to think about. I mean, the Niners are like one really bad injury away from just having a total collapse on that offensive line. It was just, like you said, it was mostly the tackles that were, like you said, putting the corner in and letting the, going through the turnstile. But man, like, wow, it was. I know there's been talk, and I forget who the reporter is, that the Niners maybe have some interest in bringing in a veteran offensive lineman at this point in the in the offseason game before we start the season. Do you really believe any of that, or is that do you think the Niners maybe put that news out there, or
who's available at this point?
Yeah, that's what I'm
nobody,
saying.
Right?
I think
Shredder
it would be
retired.
via trade. I think it would be via trade. They were looking maybe to move somebody. Could you see something like that?
Not right now.
No.
I don't think there'd be any point right now to do that, right? Because what do you really have, right? You had no game where every single person was present, right? And unless they believe that McGlinchey is going to be out the whole season and this is just a farce, but they didn't put him on the PUP list for him to be out the first 4 games. So they got to think that he can play. Like they didn't hesitate for Jimmy Ward. So I don't know. Like maybe that'll be the trade piece. Like normally the trade pieces at the deadline are big wide receivers and this and that. Maybe it'll be a team has a tackle that they're not going to pay, and we trade him for a 1-year tackle, or get a young guy and trade a 2nd-round pick or a future first for a quality tackle, and just kind of say, okay, McGlinchey, you're not the guy. Like we're not going to give you a contract with coming off an injury, and we're going to get a guy that's proven. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's where they look at it, or bring in, if the center position is just god awful, maybe they bring in a center for halfway through the season. But the center runs all the protections in Shanahan's offense, right? So you got to assume bringing in a center to learn a complicated offense and learn where all the protections are going on a wide zone scheme is probably not going to be it. You're probably looking at a tackle or a guard at that point. But we have like 6 guards on our team already, so where I think the tackle would be the only thing is, like, if there's a injury to Trent Williams that's like season long or a majority of the season, or McGlinchey can't get it going, I would say the tackle would be the only position that I could see somebody bringing it in at the deadline, or at some point in the season if they feel like if that's a major weakness in their team.
Well, we have now I think 16 days left till the season starts. So hopefully they can get coached up and we can make the best chicken salad out of chicken shit, because right now it's definitely a chicken shit sandwich more than chicken salad for sure. But
a lot of the offensive line is cohesion, right? Like they move together in the wide zone, and playing those 2 weaker opponents in the beginning of the season, sometimes all you need is a little bit of confidence. Sometimes you just need to make some plays, right? Like they get out there, Elijah Mitchell runs for like 120 and they just trounce the Bears, and the run game looks good. Like you get that boost going. Like that's something that could help this team, because right now they have no cohesion, right? I mean, they're going against one of the best defensive lines in camp. Most of the time it's without pads. And then they go in the preseason and half the players aren't playing. Trent Williams didn't play at all. McGlinchey really didn't play at all. So I think some confidence booster would be nice. Like So hopefully they just go to Chicago and just beat the living crap out of them and get that booster going for everybody on the team.
I just want to see a set lineup offensive line wise and go with it and go forward instead of, the musical chairs at center, which have been, well documented through training camp. And if Burford and Banks are going to be your guards, then go forward with it. And like let's go. I want to see one offensive line cohesion. Like you said, you need cohesion. And I guess the best way to do that really is to have the same five guys playing together over a period of many weeks. I wanted to jump over to something positive, and that was his first name is escaping me right now. Womack, cornerback extraordinaire that we drafted in the 5th round this year. He has looked nothing short of amazing this preseason. He played outside yesterday. He played a little bit of course of slot. What was your takeaway with him, and what's your takeaway with him this preseason? He was raved about in training camp, and he's shown it on the field since we've seen him through the preseason.
Yeah, I was watching some draft analysis shows on depth corners, and his name got brought up. And I looked at some film, and I'm not a film expert by any means, but the person who was running the analysis said he's got long arms for his size. And that's perfect for being the nickel because you want to shed blocks, right? You're getting in the mix more often, and so I was like, okay, looking at some tape and reading some analysis, I was like, we need a nickel. I like the way this guy plays. I think he could win the nickel job right out of camp because they really didn't bring anybody in, and he's been nothing short of spectacular, which I like. He's been great in the center or in the center of the field with a nickel position, multiple picks. He always just seems around the football. And even last night wasn't his best night, but they had him playing outside, even though he's been playing nickel all camp. I don't know if that was just because of how many people were out or something like that.
Right.
Or if they wanted to see what other people could do in the nickel position for the backup. But, even on the touchdown or the pass interference call, he got his head around and he was in position to play. It was body on body. You could easily have seen that not being called. Right. So, I wasn't too upset about that at all. And, he's been playing spectacular. And for the Niners to be competitive, you have to find value, right? So you're paying all these players at the top of their positions. You need people on rookie contracts to excel in order to win games, right? Having Elijah Mitchell make absolutely nothing and run for almost 1,000 yards last season, value, right? If Womack can be a lockdown nickel for 4 seasons, at absolutely no salary, then maybe you can pay Emmanuel Mosley and Ward for those 4 years because your nickel isn't making anything. You don't have to go get a veteran for $4 or $5 million. And so I think it's fantastic, and he's doing a great job. And I think it's just really nice the fact that last draft class, right? You had Trey Lance, which you saw his highlights in camp, but he really didn't get a play. Aaron Banks played the least amount of snaps out of anybody in the second round besides the quarterback that was taken at the end. And then, Sermon didn't really look well, and just continue down the list, right, until you get to Mitchell. And this year you've had a lot of players kind of come poke their head out, even undrafted free agents like Poe, and you got Burford and Womack and Danny Gray. And so it's nice to see this draft class really excel. And Womack, looks like he's going to win the starting job.
I think then moving on from Darqueze Dennard, and allowing them possibly to catch on with another team, or at least that's what they were saying, how I got cut. There's some people saying maybe he asked for his release because he lost out to a rookie. But whatever the reason was, the Niners made that move before, I think, was it before we played any preseason games?
No, it was after the first preseason game.
Okay, after he had the 2 picks.
Yeah.
So that says a lot to me. They had a 5th round rookie who's going to be pretty much given the task of covering somebody like Cooper Kupp pretty much all the time, and that he's in the slot that says a lot. And he's sticky. I don't see a lot of separation with him. I see him in the hip pocket of the player all the time. I don't ever see him in a trail position say, I don't know, Ambry Thomas or, guys like that. But definitely in all the crap that was going on last night, was a shining star for sure, and gives me a lot of hope especially with Emmanuel Mosley and Trevarius Ward hopefully coming back for week 1. The Niners, even with
looks great.
Yeah, and even with the with the Jimmy Ward out at safety, it's still against a team like Chicago, it gives me a lot of hope that the Niners defense will feast in that game. So hopefully that's the case.
Outside of the one touchdown, I mean, Tavarius Moore has looked, I thought, pretty good from what I've read from DB specialists. Like, he's had a couple good plays, and he obviously got burnt. But I mean, the Niners got burnt all year on that slot fade. So we'll see how that works out. I mean, Ward is obviously the linchpin of that defense in the secondary, and so it will be missed for sure. But to what degree, we'll see how that works out. I mean, the defensive line needs to really step up there. But overall, I've been super impressed. And I like that Womack really embraces the nickel. He said, yeah, I really like it. I think my skill set lends to it. I'm fast. I got long arms, and I like to blitz. I like to put my nose and hit people. And so, he's not going to shy away from the run game. And you read about it in some corners talk, and they say, hey, when you get a 230-pound running back getting full steam at you, like, it's not easy, like, just putting your body on the line when you only weigh 190. And Womack is like, hey, like, I'm ready to put my face in it, and get going. So you just like the fact that he stepped up to the table, and that's what sports is all about. When you have these dark chances of making the roster, because believe it or not, I was surprised they didn't trade picks and trade up, because I thought this roster was so thick. I'm like, half these guys aren't even going to make it. Like, they're going to cut them and go on other teams. Like, what is going on? And he's stuck. He made it, and it looks like he's going to get the start week 1.
I wanted to kind of transition from defense back to offense. Running back was another big bone of contention on Twitter and just in the spaces and anywhere you can talk football. Just who, after Elijah Mitchell, who's going to make the team, who gets cut, who goes to hopefully reverts to the practice squad. I don't even know where to start with this. Some people, if you talk to them, they say Jeff Wilson Jr. is getting cut, JaMychal Hasty's getting cut. Another person you talk to, and they say Jeff Wilson is the most complete out of all the running backs, and he's had a really good camp. And it's just depending on who you talk to, you get different answers. What's your take on the running back depth chart? And we talked about this. In the beginning, Trey Sermon, just because of roster politics, I don't think he gets cut. But outside of that, like, who's on the way out? Who's someone who's on the rise, or are things kind of pretty much what you thought they were going to be going into preseason?
Yeah, it's very interesting. You have all the reasons for why people get cut, and I mean, hey, it's going to be a ballsy move for a team to release a 3rd round pick or try to trade a 3rd round pick away, right? That's mean that you were wrong about that pick pretty quickly. And so, obviously Ty Davis Price on the roster, he was just drafted. Elijah Mitchell on the roster. I think Wilson makes it. He's the only vet in that room. He knows the offense. He was relied upon in key moments late in the season multiple times. And he looked pretty good last night. Sermon's last night he had his best run of the preseason, but Lynch comes out and said he's had a fantastic camp, and they really liked his camp and what's going on. So maybe it was just the fact that the preseason hasn't looked good, but they really like what he's done and improved upon, right? I mean, he's put on muscle. He trained all offseason with Dalvin Cook and stuff like that. So, like, he's really put his best foot forward there. So, and then you have Hasty, who brings a different skill set than all the other running backs. So is the skill set going to be enough for him to make the roster? And then Jordan Mason has had the best preseason, but he's also going against people that will probably be bagging groceries in a couple of weeks. So, like, I don't know if, like, where do you put it on there? Like, if the team wanted to move on from Trey Sermon, I wouldn't be upset. It's hard for teams to move away from draft capital. It just really is. If it's a high pick, because they get more chances to fail or succeed. Either way you look at it. Like, if Poe beat Aaron Banks out, do you think they cut Aaron Banks? No, right? He's a 2nd round pick. They're going to give him every chance to succeed as possible. And, is there a chance if we cut Mason that he gets picked up? Sure, there is a chance. But like I said, every team is going from 80 to 53. Like, they're cutting running backs too. So You're going to have to cut extra running back to make room for this guy. And you look at last season in college, I believe there was 38 running backs that ran for over 1,000 yards. Like, if somebody picks up Mason and you miss out on him, there's going to be plenty of running backs you can take late next season, right? Like, I mean, I just don't see them taking, unless they feel that Mitchell, the injury bug that they've had in the backfield with Mitchell is necessary to keep more running backs. Then I probably lean Mason getting cut and hoping that he can get to the practice squad. It's probably what I lean just from roster politics. As far as from the play, sure, yeah, cut Sermon, but somebody will take a chance on Sermon. Sermon's not making it to the practice squad, and you had a 3rd round pick in him, right? So
we actually, it's funny that you say this. We actually have him in the chat.
Yeah,
he's actually in here. He said, "What up?" So thank you, Trey Sermon, for coming into the chat. Here's to you making the the 53 on Tuesday. Niner Warriors says was good. David McNew, do we keep 6 running backs? 6 including Juice, of course. Ooh. I feel like you can never have enough after what kind of injury woes we've had at the running back position the last couple of years. I don't think we keep 6, do we? I couldn't see that.
It just depends on who they're putting on the pup and like where all the other stuff is, right? Like they need to they put a safety on the pup. They obviously have to keep another safety on the roster until Ward is healthy. Like, I heard a lot of people saying, "Oh, we're only going to keep 2 tight ends, and then you can move Juice out to tight end, and Jennings is a big enough receiver to play tight end." I was like I don't see them doing that. They like to run the football too much. They run too many 2 tight end sets. If one person gets injured, like, where's the big guys coming from? I mean, Kittle weighs 245. Like, Juice doesn't weigh that much. Like, so are you really going to be like providing you're going to have a guy play tight end that's never played tight end just because you want to keep 6 running backs when running backs are, no offense, a dime a dozen? And so, like, I just don't see it happening. They put too much money in the defensive line to where I think they keep as many defensive linemen as they possibly can. You have offensive line having their woes and injury. They're going to probably keep extra offensive linemen. So where does that extra player get cut? Are they only keeping 5 wide receivers? Are they not going to keep what's that guy? Malik Turner, who's their gunner, right? Special teams is important. So they're going to cut their gunner to make room for a running back who doesn't play special teams.
Yeah.
I just don't, where you have to rob from somewhere to give to somewhere else. So where is this cut coming from?
You have to rob from Peter to pay Paul.
So let's just go down this road. If they do keep 6, what position do you think gets the X?
Man, you have to have the receivers, and the defensive line has to be completely loaded. You can't. I can't see it. I don't have any.
They're not cutting a linebacker because Orrin Burks is a special teamer, and you're not cutting those guys. The secondary has been banged up, so they need as many people in the secondary as possible. So the only spot is tight end, but I don't see them cutting Ross Dwelly to keep Jordan Mason.
He had a good game last night, by the way. I thought he played well.
Yeah,
considering never been a huge Dwelly guy, but he's played well last night.
Yeah. So that's the same reason I don't think they're going to keep 3 quarterbacks.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Everybody's on the Brock Purdy train, but we have to use context, just like people always say. He's playing against, a lot of times, like you said, people that will be bagging groceries or, working at a freight dock or something in another couple of weeks. So it's so weird, man. Narratives are so all over the place when it comes to players that people really like, and they will push a narrative or push a narrative against a certain player, or all of a sudden a guy does really, really well, but you realize he's a 3rd stringer and he's going against guys that are not going to be in the NFL next week. So like I told you before, it's getting to the point now where I just want the regular season to start so all this can kind of go to rest until next off season. Cause it's getting to the point now where I'm losing my mind collectively.
Yeah. Well, I just, I think would I be surprised if Jordan Mason makes the team? No, I wouldn't be. No. So now I wouldn't be surprised if they cut Trey Sermon. There's surprises wouldn't be there for me, but I just look at it this way. It's you look at the Shanahan's had a different leading rusher every single season.
Yep.
they picked pretty much Breida off the street as well. Like he was a UFA, or, undrafted free agent. So they can find these guys out there. There's going to be other running backs from other teams that are going to be cut. There's already running backs that are free agents. So like if the guy gets picked up or taken to another team or whatever, they're going to be able to bring somebody in and solidify that. Like, so we'll see how it is. Like to be honest with you, I'm not going to be butthurt either way.
Yeah, if
like,
Mason,
I don't have a dog in this race. Like I really don't. So like if Mason makes it, great. If they cut Sermon, whatever. If they cut Hasty, whatever. Like obviously the only person I wouldn't want them to cut is Mitchell, which they're not going to do. So like really, I'm not too worried, right? Like so, it is what it is, and you got to assume that Shanahan and Lynch are going to make the best decision for the team and what they feel. And if Mason earned the job, then great. You love the guys that are undrafted and make the roster.
Want to say real quick, what's up to Rohan Chakravarthi? He says, "Ooh, did not expect this duo. What's up, fellas? What's up, Rohan? Always paying it forward, and supporting me in the chat and other content creators. So thanks, Rohan. I appreciate it. I got to have you on again. As a busy man, I don't know if he started back at school yet, but he's quite the busy man. So anytime I can get his takes on things or have him jump in the chat is always a treat. Some of the
best camp coverage. Anybody tweeting?
Yes, positive camp coverage. Maybe too positive for some people's taste, but for me it was great. I want to say hi real quick to Mariah Faithfully. They just had their I think their 100th stream and their 1-year anniversary stream, 49er Faithfully pod. So congratulations to you and Taryn. I had them on maybe a week ago. Man, a lot of people turned out for that stream. So a lot of people are really, they're that traction that they're starting to get that traction out there. So I'm happy for you and Taryn that you guys hit a year on YouTube and 100 episodes, and here's to many, many more years and streams to come for sure.
Yeah, congratulations.
Definitely. We'll kind of transition again back to the other side of the ball. We talked. You messaged me this last night about the interior D line. Mainly the backups looking pretty leaky out there, considering that these guys are going to be part of a rotation of it was mainly the interior more than the outside, because I thought the pass rush as far as from the outside was really good last night, no matter who it was, whether it was Omanehu or Samson Abucom. It was nice. But interior wise, you're right. We got gouged. And I know, like you said, they were playing their starting offensive line against our backups. But the fact of the matter is that it was in the
regular season, those guys are going to go against the starting offensive line. So
right. And they're going to be guys that are going to come in with depth of, in a rotation. And if they're playing that legally, we have all this, praise that we heap upon the defensive line. That can't be the performance you're going to be putting out there week 3, week 10, week 16. If you're trying to make a playoff push, you got to shore that interior defensive lineup. That's always been my issue with the wide 9 scheme. It is a propensity to get gouged, especially up the middle. And I know my brother is a big he's a Dolphins fan, and he had that issue when Chris Kasurek was their defensive line coach too. So what was your take on just the leakiness? And I want to ask you, do the Niners miss not having Kalia Davis in that rotation?
Well, I don't know if they miss him or not. He hasn't played it down yet.
Right. No, so that's what I mean. Like, if how do I say this? Projecting if he would have been, projecting if he would have actually made the team, because he was quote unquote the replacement for his name is escaping me right now.
Jones?
Yeah. Well, there was talk that some people, when a guy is drafted, kind of automatically slide somebody in to be the replacement for a player that's exiting.
I never understand that. It's like
why? Because they have a similar body type or something. Yeah.
Like why? Like that's the biggest thing that I feel like was the downfall of Jadeveon Kinlaw, was like everybody expects him to be DeForest Buckner.
Yeah.
Like, why can't he just be himself? Like,
Right.
like, and I think the biggest thing for me with the defensive line is that do they really expect Kinlaw to play like 80% of the snaps all season? Coming off an injury, not being able to do it at all, like you're going to need to rotate guys in there. Or guys like Amenihue and Kerry Hyder are going to be able to play in the interior when they need it. Like, I think they only have one body over 300 pounds,
Yeah.
which is Hassan Ridgeway, right? So, like, are they going to be able to stuff the defense? Like when we saw in that Lions game, like they were getting gouged left and right week one. They tightened it up, and there's been a lot of debate about, we did it on Rob Shue on Wednesday. Is the 2022 defense going to be better than 19? Right. And like there's a lot of debate there, but 19 didn't give up a rushing touchdown to like week 13 or week 14. I forget which exactly week it was, but they were dominant in stopping the run as well as getting to the quarterback. And this team hasn't been. The linebacking core will be better, right, than it was in 19 with Azeez Al-Shaair and everything like that. But we'll see. I mean, obviously, Hassan Ridgeway was available for cheap, so like you can't expect too much for him. Like, how much is Amenihue and Kerry Hyder going to be able to play in the interior if Kinlaw misses time? But the positive about it is, bring in Armstead to the interior full time, where he feels a lot more comfortable. He wasn't playing last night. He's good against the run. He's lanky. He can eat up some bodies. So, if these guys get gouged every once in a while on a rotational spill, we'll see. But, you got to assume in all these talks or discussions, you assume health, but somebody's going to miss a game here or there. And the backups didn't really show up last night at all.
Yeah, that was definitely concerning for sure.
Against an offensive line who last season was rated last in the NFL. So
that makes it even worse.
Like I know they invested in offensive line. I forget who they drafted, and they also brought some people in. But they're no specialty offensive line at all. Like they're not a juggernaut by any means. And they pushed us around. Like they pretty much walked us down the field the whole first drive.
Yeah, that was pretty bad for sure. Something that you brought up to me in last night, we were talking about streaming today, was for all the talk in training camp and off season about Brandon Nyuk, he got no targets last night, and he brought that to my attention. I'm surprised that he didn't get any looks or anything. What was your take on that, or are you already just in your mind saying it's preseason, no game planning? Just trying to get out healthy, and it doesn't really matter.
I wish they would have given some like gimme plays to both Debo and Ayuk last night.
Yeah,
like a screen to Debo and that kind of thing, and then and like a nice quick slant to Ayuk or something along those lines. But they didn't, right? A lot of stuff to the fullback, tight ends, whether that's where Trey Lance decided to go. But you think they would have schemed up something. So, like, I'm not too worried about Ayuk. He had a dominant training camp. I feel like he'll be better. You saw the second half of the season. He helped the team quite a bit, especially when Debo was out. So I'm not too worried about it yet. Like, it's hard to worry about anything at this point. Like, we haven't had a season-ending injury, knock on wood. The only thing I'm really worried about is Ward, right? Because we don't really play too many hot offenses until the Rams. So, like, that's the only really the team that I might be worried about from the passing standpoint. But yeah, I mean, it's to me, like, I wish they would have just schemed some stuff up last night. Like, nothing like Shanahan. I don't know if he's like so worried about putting stuff on tape, but a screen, like throwing a screen to somebody and getting them the ball and getting them in space, like, is a play that every team does. Like, you're not giving anything away at that point. You're just giving Trey Lance an easy throw, make some yards after the catch, and go from there. And like, I wish I would have saw more of that last night. But, Ayuk is one of those guys that's going to have 4 catches or 5 catches for 95 yards. Like, he's going to spread the field. I don't think he'll ever be a guy, unless there's nobody else on his team, but I don't think he'll ever be that guy in the Niners that's going to get 13 targets and have 10 catches. Like, it's just not going to happen. So, he only needs 1 or 2 with the yards after the catch ability to take that deep. And like I said, with them only playing 2 series, it's hard to say to be worried. I would have just preferred them to like have a game plan them some, what they call the Jimmy gimme, right? To like get them in an open space, get that play dialed up and get some confidence to Trey Lance with his premium target through camp.
Yeah, the thing sometimes that I think it gets a young quarterbacks, especially into a groove, is when you give them some layup throws to get them kind of not necessarily his confidence, but just get him hot. Easy stuff. Jimmy was all about the easy gimme throws, and he couldn't make the big, outside the numbers.
Which the first throw was. The first throw was, right? That rollout, easy pass, wide open. Juice was wide open at the sticks, first down. So, like, they did give him that. I wish they would have just done it more with some other receivers. Sorry, keep going.
No, I don't know. Like I said, I watched last night's game, and in my mind, the only thing I could think of is just getting out healthy and getting to week one. So there was a weird part of me that didn't care to the point that some people did about Trey Lance and his lack of splashy stuff last night. To me, it was just, let's get to week one and game plan and have all our guys ready to go. I mean, for the most part, knock on wood, this is the most healthy I think we've been in going into a season in a long time, other than Ward and McGlinchey maybe being a little bit dinged. I mean, across the board, we got all our stars, you know what I mean? Most of our aces are in the hole ready to go. So
Mitchell's supposed to be there, but
right. I'm a big Mitchell guy. The one thing about him is, man, he has a hard time staying healthy. Like, damn.
I wonder if some of his injury things last season was the fact that Shanahan trusted nobody else, right? So he's like, hey, Mitchell, you have 27 broken ribs and all this kind of stuff like that. Let's duct tape you up and march you out.
We need you 25 more carries this week. Yeah. Can you please do that for us?
Where like I feel like if he trusted anybody, they could have gave him an extra week off here and there to get fully healthy,
I always worry with guys who have always the dingers and they have to miss time if they're, some guys just can't play through injuries, or was it that bad last year? I don't know. It's hard to say. I'm an old school person who grew up watching football with people who were shot up with Toradol or whatever the hell they used back then to go and play games with broken ribs or whatever. So this generation of players, sometimes I wonder how really hurt they really are. I'm not saying that he's not hurt. I don't know. I want to see him be out there and healthy all year. So hopefully he can, get that going, and because he's a difference maker on this offense. And I can't wait to see it with all the other pieces and Trey involved, and see what kind of levels we could take this team to in 2022. So that's pretty much the story tonight, guys. I figured we bang on this preseason one last time and then get ready for week one. Any last thoughts on the 53?
Yeah, here's a question. Let's each give us, if you were to say a surprise cut, who would you say?
What's his name? Oh, his name is on the outside. The defensive lineman.
Ebucom? The Menahue?
Kerry Hyder?
Kerry Hyder would be a surprise cut for you?
Yeah.
I think with all the way the corners are played, I mean, I know draft capital and the way he played last season with Ambry Thomas, but he would be a surprise cut for me. Like, he played garbage all preseason. Like, is draft capital going to be enough to keep him on? I think it will, but that would be a surprise cut for me.
Who's that? Ambry? You said Ambry?
Yeah.
He's looked pretty bad. I'm not going to lie. Diamador Lenore has really caught my eye. He's really improved.
It's a surprise cut for a reason. I don't think it's going to happen, but yeah. And
there's always one that we always submit. I think this team, to me, this team's roster has been locked for quite some time, other than a couple of key spots.
That's why I said I didn't think half these draft picks would even make the roster. So that's why I was surprised they didn't trade up.
Yeah. I still, what's your, before we get out of here, the whole TDP, a year after drafting Trey Sermon, when, the Niners, a lot of people, they're doing that thing now with the offensive line and saying the Niners, that's why they should have drafted an offensive lineman in that spot and not another running back. What's your take on that? Are you kind of in that same mindset that the Niners maybe go to the well a little too much instead of should have focused on, because people who draft for need definitely miss a lot more than people that draft best player available. Do you think the Niners maybe in the third round should have gone for need instead of BPA or whatever?
But was really Ty Davis Price BPA at that point? He wasn't on anybody's boards besides the Niners BPA at that point.
Right.
So to piggyback off that, I think the Niners often, like you saw it with Jerick McKinnon, you saw it with, like you see it with Juice, right? They extended Juice. He's making $8 million next year for a fullback. Like they pay these guys or do these kind of things and go out and get people when they really like somebody, like, CJ Beathard, third round. They moved up to get him, right?
Yeah.
Like they're pretty aggressive when they find a guy that they like. I've always been, I'm a practical guy. I'm a value guy. You got to get value out of the position there, right? Running back, you can find value late. Like you have Eli Mitchell, you had a lot of UDFAs. Doesn't mean that every single guy that's a undrafted free agent or late in the draft is going to be a gem that the Niners draft. But like I said, I think there was over 30 running backs last year in the NCAA running for over 1,000 yards. So like there's plenty of running backs out there that could make a splash, right? Dameon Pierce, who's going to start for the Texans, I think he had 500 yards last season with Florida. Like he was the backup most of the season. So you're looking at a lot of these guys, like you could find gems anywhere. So to go up and get another third round running back when you already have a crowded running back room, when you have 1,000-yard rusher capable in Eli Mitchell, made zero sense to me. Not because Tyrion Davis-Price isn't a good player or wouldn't be a good fit in the Niners system. Just from a value standpoint, it baffled me that they made that pick, right? Nick Cross was on the board. We needed safety help. I was Nick Cross, right? Like he was best player available and a position of need. You hit both with that pick, right?
I think most people reacted. I reacted probably as like you did, because I saw a lot of mock drafts where Nick Cross was to the Niners, and the fact that they chose another running back it was baffling. Is definitely an understatement for sure.
You can like Hufanga all you want, but like bringing in Nick Cross would have put a lot of pressure on him to actually be the starter. And then Jimmy Ward is getting on the older side. So what if Nick Cross surprises you? We're talking about getting value out of a position.
You can move on from Jimmy Ward.
You have two rookie safeties or two safeties under rookie contracts. Then you can definitely pay Emmanuel Mosley. Yeah. Right. At that point. So it really just baffled me at that point. I love the Drake Jackson pick. And then I was just like, what is going on like there? I mean, you had Pierre Strong. I really like that they got picked later on in the draft. You have a lot of guys that got picked later in the draft. And then the evidence is right there. Jordan Mason is making splashes and he was undrafted. So to me, it made no sense from a value standpoint. Will Tyrion Davis-Price be a good running back? I don't know. But for me, even if Tyrion Davis-Price is 1,000-yard rusher, it still didn't make sense to me.
I agree.
Because like you could have got him later, and there's going to be other running backs every single year. I don't mind that they invest in running backs because Shanahan's system dictates that. And I don't believe in paying running backs. So run Eli Mitchell into the ground and then get rid of him and we get somebody new. Like as harsh as that sounds, that's the business. So it's just what it is, right? And I don't believe in paying running backs because like what we talked about, you probably have to pay Trey Lance, if he is what he is, $50 to $60 million.
Yep.
Are you gonna let Ayuk walk and draft another wide receiver in your prime window? Probably not. So you have to pay Ayuk. You're probably gonna have to pay Mosley if no corner steps up into his position. Like you can't keep paying everybody, and so you're not gonna be able to pay Eli Mitchell. There's, like I said, every single season has 20 to 30 running backs over 1,000 yards in the NCAA. Like if they threw a fifth through seventh or fifth pick every single year at a running back to keep the pipeline going, I'd be fine with that. Yep. It doesn't baffle me. And then where you maybe take a shot at a higher end running back, like what if the Niners in Trey Lance's fifth-year option, everything is settled and Eli Mitchell is no longer on the team, or maybe he's still on the team because of his stolen contract. But then you go out and get a guy like Najee Harris in the first round or early second round, a really dynamic guy that can plug and play. Because I did a lot of research about first round picks over the last 2 decades, and running backs have one of the highest hit rates in the first round for all pro talent. It just is. Like if you're going to go to the first round and get a running back, like chances are he's multiple-time Pro Bowler style player. And if that's the only hole that we have left in the team, go out and get a first or second round running back. I'd be fine with that. But to spend back-to-back years on a third round, and it just didn't seem valuable to me at that point.
Yeah, for the credit I give John Lynch and Adam Peters for the hits, there are those misses that I guess you can do that with every front office or every talent evaluators. But man, I would have loved to see Nick Cross at safety over TDP, but we're not making the decision. So
by all accounts, he's going to start for Indianapolis.
Yeah, and TDP, who knows?
It was the fifth guy out yesterday or fourth guy out.
Yeah.
So it's just crazy because as a fan or just you have to hit on the earlier picks because they're supposed to be day one starters.
Yep.
If you get a George Kittle or an Eli Mitchell or whoever, then great. That's gravy because you don't expect all pro talent or high level talent from those later rounds as much. But missing on Solomon Thomas is a lot more important, or Reuben Foster or whoever, because those players are supposed to be guys that are on your roster for 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, right? They're like foundational guys,
Yeah. So,
but you look at it. Before we get out of here, you look at a team like the Dallas Cowboys and how they drafted that core that won those Super Bowls, and then you brought in a guy like Charles Haley to kind of be the finishing piece. Jimmy Johnson and all them, they did that, and that was fantastic. The amount of talent they were able to bring in via draft, giving away a pick or getting picks for giving away Herschel Walker, and the Niners have been lucky to hit on these later picks in these later rounds because they've had some pretty serious misses. That if they didn't hit on these later rounds, I don't know if John Lynch or Adam Peters would still be at their current job. So hopefully they can get better at hitting early on, and then we'll have no misses in the draft because it's like I thought last year us not having a first round was a godsend because I feel like we usually screw the pooch on that one. So let's go right to the second or third round and we'll see what happens. So, but we got 16 more days and then we have football September 11th. I can't wait. I took an extra day off from work to decompress because if we lose that game, I'm going to lose my freaking mind. So I just want to say thank you to everybody who did show up in the chat tonight. Randon, I had a really good one with you. You bring a lot of alternate and great viewpoints and knowledge to the conversation other than the run of the mill kind of answers that, a lot of people give. So I had a blast. I would like to do this again.
Yeah.
Where we're both not coming off a really long day at work. Hopefully as the season gets underway and we get some real nitty gritty stuff to talk about, I could have you back on or something or
good,
something like that. So thank you everyone for popping in here. I appreciate it. Randon, thank you so much. Until next time, everyone, stay safe, healthy, and I'll see you on the flip side.